Hello, welcome everybody. I have the amazing, lovely Laura Eisenhower with me today. How are you, Laura?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. Good to see you, Eli.
Absolutely amazing. And so we've been kind of communicating across the pond, and we finally made it to a Zoom. We're going to make this a nice, short and sweet little interview, little conversation we're having with each other. Next week, I believe we've got an important date. Um, the 8th of April. And I'd like to talk to you about that, being the astrology you are. What is happening actually astrologically? Should we start the conversation by saying that?
Sure. Well, the eclipses are always in alignment with the nodal axis, and the nodal axis has a lot to do with the growth period of humanity. It takes us into like more of what's happening on a deeper level within us. That's why it's such a time of, major change and sort of like shakeups, because something internally is just coming to the surface, or some major shift on the planet is happening, and we have to process it on a much deeper level. And the nodes right now are South Node in Libra, North Node in Aries. And so the solar eclipse happening on April 8th will be very powerful with 4 planets also in Aries. We got Chiron, Moon, Sun, Mercury retrograde, and Venus all in the sign of Aries. So the growth period and what we're experiencing, and how it transits our own personal charts, is like the warrior energy and standing our ground, and really like processing with that Mercury retrograde, that wounded healer Chiron in Aries. And that shows up very differently for each person, depending on where they're at on their path. Um, the wounded ego or wounded warrior, or just, yeah, that masculine wound or whatever, doesn't have to be masculine or feminine though, because we all carry these energies. But it's that like leadership, that warrior energy and your willpower. Where has that been wounded? What do we need to look at to heal it? If you've overcome the wounds and you've directed your attention on taking action, then this aspect is very strong for people that are very pioneering in their field of like, healing tools and modalities, and creating healing centers and doing things, uh, for the collective that will like help people in these crazy times. So we know a lot of people in this field, are actively, bringing about a lot of information that is assisting with this, great awakening. And so, that's the trajectory we need to go down, but there are many different levels of it. So, some people might be feeling the woundedness of censorship, or that what they're trying to do is just being, just interfered with. Or then you have the wounded ego identity, that is what this next generation is experiencing, gender confusion, where that is going to be something they carry in their charts that they're going to have to reconcile with, because this generation is being born with these aspects of, the wounded Aries, the wounded Mars. So we either take it in a direction of healing ourselves and then assisting others, or we are unconscious in a way to the wounds and we just act out and we just play into the divide and conquer and the war mentality, or we feel victimized. And sometimes people have a lot of confidence in their victimization. Like this is the cross I bear, and everybody has to be politically correct, and how dare you, insult me or say it this way or that way. So we're seeing so much of this in the world, and a lot coming to the surface of people exposing their wounds from cults, or, SRA, or any kind of abuses they've ever gone through. We're seeing so much of this kind of exposure in this time of disclosure that has to do with this massive healing. So this is where we're kind of heading. Where is it sort of being weaponized? Where are we at with it? And during this eclipse time, I think a lot of people will be reflecting on, all right, this is what I need to heal within myself. This is where I need to stand my ground. Reflecting on the South Node Libra, are these relationships that a person is in, or your relationship with yourself, in balance and harmony? And what action needs to be taken to, work on yourself, and also direct that energy into something that's in service to humanity, to make the world a better place, versus kind of looping in the woundedness or the unconsciousness of it all, and where it's sort of being played in a way that doesn't promote growth. Because every single astrological alignment, there's always some sort of weaponized version that comes out as a psyop. So we have a lot of attention around this eclipse time as far as be prepared. This is going to shut down, CERN is going to be powered up, and, all these interferences, coming at us, so that we miss the mark of this important growth period, which will really also help us to heal from the wounds of the cabal and the inverted matrix that has harmed us for multiple generations.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's really well put, Laura. It's interesting. I was speaking to somebody today about CERN, and they were saying that they've been doing a lot of work on CERN, and CERN is not going to work again, because I don't know whether you remember last time they sparked it up, it didn't work. You remember that? They tried to spark it up before Christmas and it didn't work. It's interesting. I know that in America, there's a lot of like crazy hazmat sort of FEMA, prepping sort of conversations going on. And you've hit the nail on the head there. It's actually, we miss the mark if we get into that narrative. It's like we need to keep with us, align what we're doing, be with ourselves, go into nature. For me, there's a lot of like, there's a big buzz, almost a cultish buzz around the 8th of April over here. People coming together and stuff. And for me personally, I think we can manifest anything in this eclipse. I think we can heal. It's a great time for healing and being with ourselves. And certainly there is a lot of darkness rising. And personally, speaking to people over the weekend, they're feeling a lot of like attacks and a lot of kind of internal turmoil within themselves. And people who are quite close to them have suddenly come up with things that they weren't expecting. So there's like all these like tests that are coming.
Oh yeah.
And I think the 8th of April will kind of cleanse a lot of that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
If we don't get into this story that the cabal are running about the death, the doom, and the kind of the
Yeah.
death cult story. So
Totally. And
yeah,
that's always the distraction. That's always, the distraction. And then our attention goes over there. And I mean, I think the Great Awakening is about being co-creative with the timeline, knowing that we can manifest something very different than what we're being thrown constantly. I mean, yes, it's important to be prepared and be resourceful, not in a survival energy though. Because the dependency bond with the inverted matrix is coming to an end, right? We need to cut those cords. So, but we don't want to do it in a survival, fearful vibration. We want to come together, pull our resources together, and work with Mother Earth and the trajectory of, cosmic natural law and nature, and what's within our own DNA that's beginning to upgrade and turn back on as we move through the gatekeepers and the frequency fences and seals that have kept us encased in this net. So a lot of it also is dropping the ego identities, which have been engineered, or the labels that we might carry that keep us separate or in battle with each other, and begin to sort of drop that and make love more the priority, and coming together and being like, I don't have to fight for this side or that side. If it's going to mean that, it's causing constant fracture and perpetuating the wound and wounding others, being the wounded one that wounds others because you're not taking it to the next level. I mean, when we think of 5D or ascension, that's the soul matrix. Transhumanism and this other trajectory wants to separate us from the soul matrix so that we're assimilated into this AI and we can't even think for ourselves. So awakened people understand this, of course. And we have to just hold strong, because with Saturn and Pisces and Neptune and Pisces, there's an anchoring of belief systems that will become reality. Saturn turns things into reality. So when you hold an intent and you're carrying a belief system, it begins to, anchor and ground itself. It determines the people you attract in your life and the choices that you make. So if you can unplug and cleanse that part of yourself to connect with your visions and dreams and, what your imagination, can conjure up as far as the beautiful things that you can manifest, and have a boundary to the things that are trying to use that energy to battery up an artificial timeline, we can manifest such a beautiful future. And the thing is, everything about the artificial is siphoning and harvesting and stealing energy. So it doesn't have any power except for the power we give it. So why, do that when we can put that vital energy and attention on something beautiful and good? So we can observe with a boundary instead of get yanked into it to the point where that vital creative energy is being anchored to support and enable a timeline that we really don't want, because we're not at the mercy of it, at what's coming at us. We need to awaken to the fact that what's been targeted for thousands of years is the great creative potential within our being and the divinity that we hold. So this whole dumbing down and indoctrination and all the mind control and the fake news is really just to capture that and limit us into thinking we're far less than we actually are. So that's the major healing and growth period right now.
Yeah, yeah, it's an amazing time to be around, and we've got a lot of things happening in the UK, and that's kind of rippled out across the world. We have this this coming together for the eclipse here. We don't have the eclipse here, by the way. We've got a tiny slither, but we're all gearing up to it anyway, because either side of that trajectory is still going to get that amazing energy. Can you speak of the more cosmic alignment? Have you done any work on that? Have you had any downloads about things that are happening more cosmically than, like, even outside our solar system?
Uh, like outside our solar system, I mean, there's always just the bigger picture
Yeah.
of the planetary grid network healing and the mother energy being anchored into the planet, and how the sun started to move through the 13th sign of Fiacus, and the corrections of the inversions that are happening on a cosmic level. That really is why this has been a prophesized window period of ascension. And the father energy and the mother energy, and how that relates to the birthing of the Christ Sophia, that is our divine template. I mean, we're in this restoration work of rebuilding the 12-strand DNA. And so on a cosmic level, these corrections are happening, and how that impacts the earth, how it impacts our physical body. We've got Jupiter, Uranus in Taurus, conjunct very soon in a tight conjunction. And that's a lot of accelerated energy coming in from our higher self and streaming into the planet, these light codes and the solar activity and what's happening there, the coronal mass ejections and just, the solar storms and this and that, and how that impacts everything. It's like that acceleration is going to create symptoms in the body, but so is the control mechanisms that are trying to yank us into something else, right? So the physical body's going through a lot, and it's going to begin to shift when we shift into the nodes of Pisces and Virgo, Pisces North Node, Virgo South Node. It's really going to be a growth period about body, mind, spirit communication, so that we can match what's happening on a cosmic scale and how that's grounded into the earth energies, and be in the flow of, the things that are shifting us into a higher earth energy versus, the symptoms that come about from bioweapons or the mind control. And once a person breaks the mind control, the corrections within the body start to really accelerate. So on a cosmic level, all these things are taking place. There's movements going on with certain constellations and just the way everything is moving. And I talked to David Sarita, and he's saying, Venus spins differently than all the other planets, and how Venus works so closely with the earth, and just the repair work on a cosmic scale is just how nature works. And anytime something gets injured, nature automatically has a healing response, right? So the more we trust the flow of the cosmic corrections that are taking place and how that impacts the earth, the more we can allow this energy to move through us and create a lot of repair within our cells and in our DNA, breaking down ancestral patterns and programs and all this kind of stuff. So it's an uncomfortable time, but it's really a liberating time.
Yeah.
And so, for some, it's almost too much, like their bodies can't handle it, right? We're in this kind of heavy density, but yeah, the more we kind of ground and just allow and just see what sort of splinters come up to the surface to be ejected that really don't serve us, that are really kind of foreign to our true self and our authenticity. It's just a rebirth within so many beings of who are you really versus what you've been taught or conditioned to be. And on a cosmic scale, I would say that, yeah, major integration of these higher forces into the planetary grids, a lot of that healing has taken place. And we are directly related to that because our DNA and our chakras are connected to the planetary grids in the multidimensional cosmos. And we're literally moving through challenges and gatekeepers to remove the blockages to the rest of ourselves. So all that we could want to embrace and integrate is already available. It's just a matter of what resistances and blocks do we keep running into and giving our, power away to, you know, it's like we're moving into the higher octave of Saturn. Even the rings of Saturn are dissolving. The whole Saturn moon matrix is collapsing on a cosmic scale.
Mm.
So we only have the programmings that keep repeating in our mind versus their ability to really influence the timeline, in a negative way. Because like you said, CERN isn't really working. A lot of their different tactics aren't really working because the power of what's coming in is really dissolving and breaking it all down. And we're learning to be like more advanced in the face of the things that are trying to dumb us down when our consciousness can override. Then we realize like there's nothing we can't handle, because the very thing that they're attacking is our ability to recognize that we can override it and that we're more powerful than that.
Mm.
And in doing that, that de-weaponizes the weapons that really just want us to stay in a low vibration. So, it's happening whether we want to be in alignment with it or not, but we best be in alignment with it, because it's only going to hurt us worse if we keep.
Yeah.
I hope that answered it. It's not.
Yeah, no, it's no, that's perfect. Laura, it's amazing time to be alive, really, and it's good to get little insights from your perspective on these upgrades that are happening. And you mentioned Saturn dissolving, and I can see that around. I can see systems collapsing every day. I get up and I'm laughing, I'm joking about. I see all these things in the 3D world, and if you can have the eyes to see it, you can see these systems just collapsing. And it's interesting. I was listening to the like a compilation album the other day, and Age of Aquarius came on, which was such a kind of hippie theme. But I was actually thinking, I'm really getting into this because it feels like there's a momentum that's been going for quite a long time. When if you think, that song in that moment in time was like 50 years ago, 55 years ago, whatever. And now it's actually a reality. And we are in the age of Aquarius, there's no doubt about it. And it's just this transitionary period that we kind of got to weave our way through. I don't know how long that's going to be. And you're right, it is a physical material density thing that we've got to try and work through. But can you speak more of this dissolving of Saturn and Saturn's influence?
Well, if you look at like Jupiter, Uranus in conjunction in an Earth sign like Taurus, I mean, that's really the breakdown of the financial system, everything that relates to security and what we value and self-worth, right? So it all comes down to that, and how we manifest abundance. So Uranus is like the wrecking ball. It breaks down the old to rebuild the new, and it's the planet of shock and upheaval that leads to great awakening. And sometimes the things that are crumbling feel like, like a loss, or like, what do we do? And there's panic, right? So it also rules anxiety and PTSD and just nervous system.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful electrical energy. And so we're redefining our sense of self-worth on our own terms, because Uranus connects us with our higher mind and authenticity. With Jupiter, that expands the energy of Uranus, and it being in a grounded Earth sign, it's really shaking things up so that we're like, wait a second, who am I really, and what do I value, and what does abundance really mean? Is it that paycheck? Is it being praised because you keep answering to what people want you to be? Are you still wrapped up in what other people think? Are you afraid of being your true self, right? So all those sort of things are coming into a person, and that breaks down the dark Saturn, which is the tyranny and control that many have mistaken for outer authority systems that actually care about us, and don't realize this problem reaction solution game that has caused a dependency bond with the system, or the inverted matrix, that you rely on for the reward of your paycheck, for the reward of your certificates and degrees, for the reward of how other people think of you. And if you don't measure up to that, then you're an outcast, a loser, or you failed. That's all like programs. And so that's all dissolving. And in doing that, that breaks down, the lower octave of Saturn, the dark Saturn, of having some outer authority condition you to the point where that authority becomes your inner voice, and you measure your worth based on, how your parents treated you, and how society, or your teachers, or just how you played the system and how that makes you feel. With all that breaking down, with these blasts of, high vibrational energy, we have to recognize that's also coming from our higher self. And a lot of events that take place in our life are supporting us having a breakthrough in that upgrade, so that we can begin to shatter that bond. It's like getting divorced with the old paradigm. It's like breaking that connection, and then recognizing that the higher octave of Saturn is self-mastery and overcoming the obstacles and gaining like strength and muscle on a spiritual level, right? Like spiritual warriors, spiritual athletes, like that are facing these obstacles instead of being victimized by them or giving your power away to them or being influenced by them to the point where it impacts your self-worth and sense of abundance and sense of self, you know, we really can't rely on that. That is no security. So people are panicking because they realize they have to fall back on themselves and be more resourceful, and that looking outside the self for a savior or an answer and solution coming from the system is not where it's at. So obviously there's so many people with wonderful healing tools and modalities or healing centers, and you know, the medicine is there, the higher approaches to holistic healing that really treats the whole person is all there. But you know, it's dismantling the ways in which that has been sort of blown off and not taken seriously or targeted. So obviously with people that are awakened, that's not their picture. So for people that are, you know, a lot more awakened, there's a major surge of you know, communities coming together and just building this new earth energy. And as much as Saturn tries to interfere, it holds no power over it except for the power that you actually give it. So it is a difficult time because we're moving through that sort of veil of chaoticness as we sort of bust through what those rings kind of represent, you know, the mind control fields, the entities, the archons, and all these, you know, different things that are testing us and trying to yank us down and cause exhaustion and defeat. But this Uranus Jupiter that's really anchoring itself, you know, is the great revelation coming from our higher self, is the great activation coming in that is also cleansing the Neptune aspect with Saturn that allows us to work with the law of structure, which is Saturn, to be a container for the multidimensional and the creative imagination, not where religious dogma or outer authority or, you know, all these wars that are being, you know, played out are keeping us looping in, you know, a level of duality. So it's forcing a bifurcation, but there's a bridge between the two splits, right? We're not going to just not see or witness all that anymore, depending on who you are. But there's like a bridge, I feel, that connects the two. And many that are going down the artificial timeline are going to begin to reroute because they're going to notice that these communities are thriving. They're going to notice that the path that they're going down is making them sicker, and the circus and the theater of it all is getting so damn obvious that it's like, wait a second. A lot of people are going to like start to like, I'm going over here now. And then a lot, you know, maybe won't make it, but eventually they will, because the magnetism of true source energy of unconditional love never leaves a soul behind. It's just a matter of how we make choices and utilize our free will and are willing to accept these activations that are really, you know, coming in from higher self, coming in from source. And so, you know, the more inverted, you know, we become, the more that energy is the inversion of the Aquarian age, which is the use of these dark technologies like transhumanism, gender reversal, and you know, where trust the science, people don't realize is like Mengele science, like, you know, like
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
Nazi
that's
scientists, you know. So it's a harsh and tragic awakening, but we're being pushed to the breaking point, and that's where Uranus and Jupiter come in. If you can have that breaking point, you're going to begin to dissolve the hold that these energy cords and Saturn, the old Saturn, has on you, and you're going to realize there's a whole new world waiting, that the pressure within your body is wanting you to open up to you. And if not, it's just like you get more and more separated from it to the point where you begin to become genetically modified. And generations from now, this is similar to what happened to certain beings that became Greys and EBEs.
yeah.
So you
Yeah.
want to turn around as quickly as you can, folks.
Yeah.
But
Well,
you can still unwind, as we see in a larger picture level when we look at how these beings are trying to repair or regain that soul matrix. I mean, that's a huge piece of what's happening on a larger picture scale.
yeah. Yeah. You know what, Laura, I think I'm going to leave it on that note. You know, I think it's been great, short, succinct. You've been really high energy and giving us some great pointers. I'm going to ask you, what are you going to do for the eclipse? Are you going to do anything, or are you just going to, you know, be with yourself, be with the family, go and
I actually have not a whole lot on my schedule on the 8th, so I'm going to go out, take the dogs to run around, and just sit on top of this hill with a beautiful view and meditate.
yeah,
I hopefully I'll have my hand drum by then,
yeah,
which is coming in the mail, and I'll play
yeah,
some music. It's tuned to 432 hertz, and just allow the energies to just like flow and
yeah,
not be in my head too much.
Yeah.
and just like, whoo, relax. And what about you? What are you going to do?
Well, I don't know. I've actually hedging my bets. I'm gonna wait until the day. I live in the southwest of England. I'm certainly going to be with family. I'm certainly going to be by myself at some point. I might. A couple of my friends have got some little gatherings. I'm not quite sure, but I'm going to wait for the day. And I'll probably be in Glastonbury. Is the actual answer. So
Oh,
it's going to be a magical day. It's going to be a magical period moving forward. And I just really hope that everybody who is awake at the moment takes full advantage of this eclipse and full advantage of this amazing cosmic energy that's coming in. That's the thing that I really want for everyone, and to do their own thing, to be guided where they want to be, to just be happy and joyful on the day, and not get dragged into any sort of other programs. Be authentic, be aligned, and just really give out a lot of abundance, a lot of love, a lot of joy. So that's my wish for the day. And I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm really looking forward to talking about the aftermath, like like afterwards, what actually happened for a lot of things. And I know that if enough of us go out there and just be who we are, turn up who we are, turn up in our sovereign selves, then we can negate all this stuff. And if we don't do what they tell us to do, then we'll create our own world, because that's what we're doing, right?
exactly. That's it.
So
And that's the Uranus energy is sovereignty, living your truth. And that's what our higher mind wants for us. And our bodies thrive in that. And
yeah,
so,
yeah,
yeah, just get
fascinating.
closer to yourself in the face of things that are coming up in your physical body.
Yeah,
And just know that it's guiding you and taking you somewhere really beautiful. Don't fear it.
yeah, that's great, Laura. I'm going to leave it on that note. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your service, and I'll speak to you soon. Lots of
Okay,
love.
wonderful. Bye.
Bye.